hell yes.
Woo! We're rolling.
We're good. This
We're
is
in.
starting. Yeah, I want to say this right off the bat. I think you two should be very proud of yourself for the setup that you've created here. There's a lot of work that goes into this. Don't answer it. There's a lot.
I was going to turn it on. I was like, that's so rude. He's complimenting us. And
Don't even think about it. The loudest ding of all time.
No, keep going. Tell us more. Start at the beginning.
You know, it's actually interesting. I take back everything I said.
Listen, we're stoners. I was high before you got here.
Sure.
It's going to be a mess sometimes.
But for two people who smoke, this is a lot. You have two cameras going. There's cats. They seem to be fed.
Yep.
You're doing a lot. There's a lot of working components here that you two are.
You know, people
in command
don't
of.
see that. There's a lot of moving parts.
I feel seen.
Yeah.
No, this is excellent.
And it makes sense that New England Cape Cod is the one who understands us and sees us immediately.
Right. Well, I actually personally am not on the ball with any of this sort of stuff. So when I do see it, I feel like when I see it, it's like I don't know what conditions you two grew up in, but do you remember
Bad
like
ones.
the
Not great.
first rich person that you were around and you were so enamored by like what they were able to do that it made them uncomfortable? That's how I am whenever I enter someone's home and it's well put together, where I'm like, oh my God, like you can see the floor here.
Dude, not to brag, but we have headboards.
Yeah.
That's great. I have a very small headboard. Yes.
Okay.
I
All
have
It was like the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a small headboard. I got the bed frame literally just because women said
Yep.
that you have to.
Yes.
That's it, and that's fine. We got to a good place, and however you get there, that's how you get there.
Well, it shows that you listen to women, you do what you're told, and that's a great trait to have as a man.
I guess that's true. Well, I don't know if I've told this story before, but there was this one time I very briefly saw a woman, and she was
You
so.
saw her?
You've seen a
saw
woman?
her.
Where
I
are they?
saw her. She was on the street. I followed her just to keep seeing her. But no, I was seeing her very briefly, and she was so mean to me because
And you were in love.
Don't feel bad for me when I say she was mean to me, because the second part is going to make
We
you
don't.
not
I
feel bad for
automatically
me.
was like, she was right.
Yeah, she was right. I had a curtain over my window instead of Dre, which that's pretty standard. I was 22 at the time, right? And she
Wait, that's standard?
I think it's pretty standard. I think it's normal and standard. And by the way, it works. So, and actually, you get a nice hue off of the sheet that you don't get with curtains.
Dude, you
So,
grew up in Cape Cod. What do you know about curtains over the windows?
there's something beautiful about like the hearts and the Power Rangers from that sheet kind of displaying onto your wall, and it's lovely. And I don't think you women appreciate that very much. No, I'm kidding.
Honestly, if I was a 22-year-old girl and I went to a 22-year-old guy's house and we were in bed and I just looked up and there was Spider-Man or something, like
Yeah.
reflecting on the wall, I'd be like, that's pretty sick.
Well, this is
I think I'm in love.
what's interesting about that is she was 47, so
Oh.
that's why I think she was so.
She was 47.
She was 47.
So you had to get something from her generation. Instead of Spider-Man, what would it be for a 47-year-old?
Oh, that's funny. Like the Golden Girls.
Yeah, you just have Blanche Devereaux on your wall.
But yeah, she was like really like. I say mean. It wasn't like she was screaming about it, but she was like, this is no way to live. And I was defending myself in the moment because I was just reacting to it, and I was
Yeah.
like, like,
You don't even know what I've been through.
As soon as she left, I don't even think I put clothes on. I just went and bought curtains. So it's like that is sometimes you do need a knock over the head for that sort of thing.
Yeah, you do.
Unfortunately. But did either of you have that in any way, like an untenable living situation that you kind of come to Jesus moment about and changed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. I was living out of my car and staying at my friend's place occasionally in Alston, Boston. If you've
Yes.
ever been there, trash town, trash people. And I asked to move into their basement. There's 10 people living in the house already. They each have their own rooms. I was like, I'll live there. I'll pay you $500 a month. I just need like a place to keep my clothes and shower.
Yes.
And they were like, oh man, so sorry. We don't need that money. Like, and I was like, oh my God, I can't even stay with a bunch of people whose parents are paying their rent. Like, I need to get out of here.
That's exactly why you can't stay there, because they don't understand, because their parents pay the rent.
That's come up with me too, where I've lived with people and they have like their own Wi-Fi, and I'm like, hey, I'll pay you to split it, and they're like, no, and I'm like, what?
They have their own Wi-Fi, and
yeah,
they
like
won't
they
let you
had
split
their own router, and then I had to get my own router because they wouldn't let me use theirs.
But this has happened on multiple occasions.
No, just once.
I was like, wait, where are you finding these people? That's insane.
Just once. Yeah,
that was somebody
this was in
who
college.
grew up and doesn't understand the social weird things.
Well, it's funny. There's a certain people don't really. I've actually been thinking about this. People who grew up with a lot of money sometimes go so the opposite direction, where I think in their heads they know how lucky they are, and so they hoard it. They're like, this is mine, no one gets to take it because it's mine, because they know in the back of their head that it shouldn't be, so they're that much more I think about that whenever I hear like Meghan McCain talk about healthcare on The View, where she's like, well, we just can't afford it, and it's
who's we?
Like, well, it's not just who's we, it's also she's like, well, you know, it sounds nice, but like, you know, you shouldn't get someone for not working for it. And it's like, Megan, what did you do other than come out of the right birth canal at the right time? Like, you got like, it's just so funny when someone who like gets born on third base is still just like, yeah, it's mine.
Well, have you heard of Venmo friends? Because I've been seeing a lot of analysis on TikTok about Venmo friends. Venmo friends are friends who insist on down to the cent getting back what you owe them.
I hate you.
And she was talking about it, and she was like, the majority of those Venmo friends are having the card, they're running their parents' cards, getting you to give them cash so they get the points to then use as cash, and then they pay their parents back because they know they can't toe the line, but they can fuck with you. And I've noticed it's never the poor people who are Venmo friends. It's always the rich ones.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself going through Venmo all the time. You know how people make jokes about I love seeing. You know what else I do is if there's a picture, because I'm very I was gonna say snoopy by nature, but what's the word I'm looking for? Nosy. I'm very nosy by nature.
We are too.
And this is one that I did recently that's so funny, and I recommend it to you. If you see a pic, well, I guess for women it would be different because it's a picture of a woman that I have a lot of mutual friends with posted like a bikini picture, right? And I'll go to see which one of my friends like it.
Yep.
And when I find a friend who's in a relationship, I screenshot their like and I send it to them and I go, "What'd you like about this?"
Oh my God.
So fun.
That's so
I
fun.
love doing it.
It puts them on the spot.
You're a
puts
good
them
man.
on the spot. I did that to one friend. He was like, "I like the caption."
Yeah, okay.
I like the caption.
The caption's like, "Look at my ass."
I don't know the psychology. Like, in his position, I really do wonder, why do you like that picture? Because you
It's
see
leaving an opening.
Well,
an
and it's
invitation.
like, why do you need this person to see that? It's just very strange.
I put my arm down, sorry, and then I touched you, and then I had to keep going with it.
You can go now that I know.
I wasn't aware
I was having
what
a
your
moment.
situation was, but it's okay. I think that's fine. You can
What's
put,
No,
fine?
we don't touch ever. That's why it was.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't look natural when you do that. Yeah.
No, I said we don't even hug.
No, not often.
When I heard the transfer of you guys from Boston to Austin, I had questions.
What were the questions?
We went Boston,
what's
Miami, Austin.
Boston, Miami. You know what I mean? I mean, at what point is it kind of a
gay thing?
Not a gay thing, but maybe like there's a thing of like platonic life partnership. And a lot of like, I think it was Rick Owens has that with someone.
Oh,
you know
I'm gonna
the
kill
designer
myself.
Rick Owens?
Who's Rick Owens?
Rick Owens is like a very famous
Is he the fashion designer?
Yes.
Okay.
Long hair.
And he is the creepy life partner who kind of like doubles over like a goblin.
Does she? I haven't seen her.
Oh, that crazy
Yeah,
evil lady
you've
who's a
seen
dark
that?
witch and she's satanic. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I
That's
got on
how
a little
you see
rant
it,
there.
I think they're fine. To be honest with you,
I don't know if that's. I don't know if it's the one I'm talking
And
about.
I love the shoes, and I think the clothes are nice. But
Are we giving gay?
No. Listen, I just didn't know, and I'm fine with it. Whatever you can
Whatever
have going
we are,
on,
you're okay with
I just
it?
want you to know I'm fine with it.
Dad,
I
it's
accept you
just
two-
a phase.
He's gonna go home and think about us being gay.
I accept you two for who you are.
Thanks.
How
Thank
about that?
you.
Thanks.
Well, we have Dan Donohue on the podcast today, and we're here for another segment of Are We Gay?
This
has come up a lot.
Every episode.
I've had actually multiple people approach me this week, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm just going home to check on the cats. And they're like, oh, the cats that you share with Jamie, who you've lived with for 5 years, those cats.
Who said that?
I forget, I was high.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like, yeah, if I moved with, listen, it's not an accusatory thing, but if me and a guy were roommates through 3 cities and had like 4 pet poodles together, you might be like, all right, well, let's.
We have separate children.
Yeah.
And they're under one household because we're business partners and we didn't have any money, so it was more cost efficient.
Yeah, absolutely.
We co-parent.
And this is
Yeah,
a lovely
Is that
apartment.
gay?
Yeah.
That might be gay.
We did.
Co-parenting?
Yeah.
And you know what? I used to make Emily sleep with
Just
me.
going up to like a divorced father being like, this is gay that you're taking the kids 3 days a week.
Jamie did.
Be a real man and leave like my dad.
Listen, I bring home the milk, okay?
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
here. I'm not the stepdad. I'm the dad that stepped up.
Who said that?
I feel like a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I know. Somebody
you
said that. It
brought-
was so funny.
I hope I have this correct. You brought 3 of the cats into the equation.
She did.
You have 3 of the cats, and you're still bringing home the milk.
I have one.
You brought the one, and that does seem to be an imbalance. to
We
be honest
are,
with
for
you.
the first time, though, living separately next year.
Really?
I've had people be upset about that.
Everyone's been upset about
They're
it.
like, what's going on, guys?
Well,
I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
I think that's okay.
yeah.
That's great. I've only had like roommate situations that have led me to now live alone. So I think it's beautiful that you two like enjoy each other's company enough to move together and stuff.
Yeah, Jamie will have a key to my house next year.
That's great.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, probably because of the cats.
All
and
right, I
stuff.
guess this is a divorce. Never mind.
You can take the couches, but I'm going to take...
Really? I thought it was going to be like a clean break kind of situation.
Oh, no, we're writing out
Yeah.
the list of splitting items.
Aw.
No, it's going to be sad. It's going to
Yeah.
be... Oh,
I cried about it the other day.
you're the one who decided it.
I did?
Yeah,
The
but just
first weekend we got here, you looked at me and you were like, I'm going to live alone next year. And I said, okay.
Wait, no, but you had brought it up last year. So I was like, okay, I already have it in my mind that Jamie's thinking about moving out. So I thought you wanted it.
I was like, damn, we move and you want to move right away.
I thought you
witnessing
wanted
something
it.
very
So
interesting here.
I literally cried about it the other day, and I was
No,
going to
'cause
talk
we
about it on
almost
our
had-
next solo episode.
We almost had the friend breakup. Well, not the friend breakup, the podcast breakup. Living together and being friends and doing comedy and having the same friendships and doing business, that's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's hard to step away and have a safe space. It's hard to vent to anybody because everybody's this equal friend. Do you know what
Sure.
I'm saying? And so I think at that point, that's when I was like, if this continues, I have to live alone.
Okay.
And then I thought we were good. And then we got here and you were like, yeah, I'm going to live alone next year. And I go, okay, I guess we're not good.
I'm so sorry. Well, we can talk more about this later. But remember when you were dating...
No, please.
Okay,
keep-
remember when you were dating Fergalicious and you were like, hey, I'm getting a little bit older. I would think next year I want to live on my own. I was like, okay. So I had been prepping myself. So when you said that again, I didn't view it as you being like, oh, we just had a fight. I need to move out. I was like, oh, she's just reminding me. And just like knowing that I have like that abandonment thing. So she's letting me know in advance. So I was like, oh, she wants to move out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to prepare myself for this.
Oh, see, I was like, oh, we're good. And then you were
I'm
like,
sorry.
"Oh," and I was like, oh, I didn't know.
Maybe me saying that was me like, I have been feeling, dude, we're going to get into it, okay? When you said that, it immediately triggered my abandonment. So I was like, okay, now I have to be strong and I have to be like, all right, we're moving out, and I have to be like, okay, but we can be friends. And I saw a comedian, he I don't remember who, but he was like, I've been friends with this guy for 14 years and we've been talking about coming up with people and how we're all going to be a group talking on podcasts in like 10 years and how cool that's going to be because we're seeing who we want to be and who we will be in the future. So I was like, oh, and I had cried about it the other day. about us moving away from each other. And I was like, oh, this is so sad. And then I saw a guy and he was like, we've been friends for 14 years. And I was like, oh, that doesn't mean she's leaving me or that she hates me. It just means like she wants to start her own life and like have like a family and she needs like a space. So I was like, okay, it's okay. She's not abandoning me. This is not like any anger against me. She's allowed to have her own space and it's going to be okay. And we're still going to be friends. I thought you wanted to move out just to, like, you were like, I'm old enough. Like, I want my own place. I didn't view it as you being angry, but I'm sorry if it felt like I was, like, rushing it and, like, saying that as, like, I wanted it.
No, I know. I appreciate you telling me all of that. This is so funny because, like, it's been sitting where I'm like,
no.
and this is what the reactions are. Sometimes you don't want to talk about it because you're like, we're on a good streak. Can't this one up. So like
we're finally again.
yeah we're 3 times a week, dude. It's great. And I think that I had felt abandoned before the like fake podcast breakup we did, and so at that point I was like, I don't have a safe space because my home, like, I didn't feel like I had a safe space at home. And so when we had that big conversation where I was like, okay, we need to figure out what we're doing and how do we both feel good. And I clearly have done something that made you feel a way or whatever. And I was like, but I can't physically feel this way because I'm not being productive. I wasn't doing comedy as much. I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like mentally. And so that's when I brought up, I was like, if we need to live alone to save it, then we can, because it might be easier if we have that safe space and can come together. But that also scared me because I was like, if it's hard for us to do content when we live together, then it's going to be harder when we don't live together. And so that's kind of why I was bringing it up. And I think I brought up like, yeah, I am older and stuff. But I'm also like, I don't know, I'm a comic and I think about how old comics are with roommates and stuff. I'm like, this is gonna be the life for a while, so I don't have to live alone. But
oh my god, so
it was like the first weekend we got here, you brought up living separately. I was like, we just moved into a new spot. I was like, oh, we never fixed this, is kind of how I took it.
Wait, so me the other week being like, oh, I gotta find new roommates, you thought that I was like, oh, I don't want to live with her, but I'm still gonna live with other people?
I didn't even know you said you have to find new roommates.
Oh, because I this whole time I thought you just didn't want to have roommates.
Oh no.
Oh,
we see, this is what we do.
Now, just to jump in here, it's very interesting to me that this is a really great example of when two people are maybe not anxious in nature, but clearly have like a little bit of a skittishness. Both of you seemed to get signals that the other might be pulling away, and it's such a common reaction when that happens to protect yourself. You go, oh, I'm yanking out because I'm not gonna like be, it's like you don't quit, I'm firing you kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's very fascinating.
I think, and that's definitely been a theme in our friendship. I think when we first met each other, I was a fucking all over the place, like mentally. The breakup was so bad. I was going through a party phase. Like, I had just started making money, so I grew up very poor. I meet Emily. She's going through her own shit. And I think we both kind of had this thing, like, switch where we were like, oh, we need to heal this shit to make sure we can have good relationships with people.
Sure.
And I think the people you're closest to are the ones who are going to trigger you the most, and the ones who you're going to take it out on the most because you feel comfortable expressing those emotions. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
even when it's not in the right way.
And I think something that we both, I'm like a anxious attachment person, and I think you're more of an avoidant. And so those two people together, I'm like, hey, like, I'll need to talk, and then Emily will need to reflect. And sometimes we never come back to talk. Do you know what I'm saying? We just kind of like let it, because we're like, okay, it's good now. And again, bringing it up, like, kind of can bring it back up, those feelings again. Because it's like, oh, I was over this, but now I'm talking about it, and that still bothers me.
Right.
So I think that's what's made it difficult. But we do a good job of communicating, I think, for the most part. That's how we've been able to last this long.
No, I think you've done a great job communicating here, and boy, was nothing about this gay at all. Let me just say that. You guys have beat the allegations 2 times over.
fuck, dude.
Dude, we literally all did. 3 days in to knowing each other.
Hey, what can I say? You had a fat ass. I said yes.
I did. Is that why you're treating me differently? Because it's gone?
No, you still have a fat ass.
I'll get it back, babe.
Wow, that was really lovely.
You just got to know us real well.
Yeah.
I think that's excellent.
We'll talk more because I almost cried.
I saw it. I was like, it's about to happen.
No, that happens all the time. This is the issue with, like, I think people will put off conversations like that for no. I think there's like a part of our psyche that is scared for no reason of that sort of stuff, because there's no explanation why you wouldn't talk to people like that. Like, I had a big like hold when it came to telling my friends, like, hey, I love you, man. Like, that was a big, like, I was like afraid to, like, I would
Did
just
your
never
parents say I
do
love
it.
you a lot?
Yeah, they were great.
Really?
It's strange. What happened with them is they got divorced, and they, in their care for us, didn't expose us to any of the relationships they were in. So I grew up in like a 2-parent household. They wouldn't tell us they were dating anyone. They would tell us that they weren't dating anyone. So it was very normal to me to live with 2 essentially like asexual households. Obviously, they were dating people. And I wonder what the nature of those relationships were if they just decided to not tell me and my sister about it at all. Like, I don't know what kind of crazy shit they were doing.
They were with someone for 10 years, never told you guys?
You know what's so funny?
My mom had like a 6-month rule or like a year rule of someone being in her life before she introduced us.
So,
that's a good one.
And I think that is good.
And I appreciated that a lot as a kid.
My only concept of my parents' relationships, though, was this one time this woman showed up to my dad's house to like freak out on him for breaking up
in
with her.
front of you guys.
That was she was downstairs. I was like asleep in my room, and she showed up to the house, and my dad came out. He was just like, I heard her say some stuff and she was crying. My dad was just like, you gotta get out of here.
You gotta leave.
Gotta get out of here. I think he said something about like, my son is upstairs. And I was just like, no, please let her go. I want to hear. Like, I was so curious because I think, and it's grass is always greener, because I think if I was like meeting my dad's girlfriends all the time, I think it would be like, God, this is horrible. I don't want to do this. So, but like when she started yelling, I wanted nothing more than to be like, what's happening?
How old were you at that point?
I was like probably 14. So like conscious, you know, like I understood what was happening completely, but still like, you know, a little young and naive.
That started your nosy days.
Yeah,
Your dad's
so,
girlfriend, and you've been nosy ever since, man.
I should have gone down there and been like, Dad, let her talk.
Let her cook, Dad.
Let her say something here. She's got good points.
You're just sitting there with popcorn, like, keep going, buddy.
It was great. That was awesome. That was one of the best. And he like came up and apologized. And I just wanted to. I think I did say like, no, I love that. And he was like, God, how did I raise a catty son?
You're just happy that your dad's.
I was, yeah. I was happy.
It's almost sometimes when they try to protect us from stuff like that, parents always try to protect us, and I feel like in turn it hurts us because at a young age we're like, oh, we can handle this.
Right.
And I almost feel like I'm able to handle that shit way better as a kid than now.
There's a level, because you know who weren't protected from anything is kids who grew up in crack houses. You know what I mean? They were completely unprotected, and they don't end up turning out great a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So there's like a middle, or not to say they don't turn out great, but like a lot of trauma and baggage comes with it. So it's like
I'm a drug house.
There you go. So it's like, it's sort of a balancing act of like, how much trauma can we expose this kid to without going too far?
Yeah. I guess some people are just weaker than me. I'm just kidding.
We're just lucky to be this strong.
Yeah. This
Dude,
strong
I think about it though. As a kid, I handled some crazy ass shit, and I would just be like laser focused, and I'd be like, I gotta get out of this.
Right.
And it bounced off me. I would just talk about the crazy shit I was going through, and people were like, are you okay? And it definitely manifested in some ways. Like, I took risks a little bit more than kids because I was on my own a lot. I didn't like being around my family. Like, I was very independent, you know?
Possibly to a fault.
Yeah, like hang out with older kids, but I wasn't doing anything bad. I was like straight edge and stuff.
That's great.
This guy's reading
But
us.
now as an adult, I'll have like something as little as Emily saying, okay, I'm going to live alone next year. And it breaks me down as a human being when I'm like, they could be like, your dad was arrested for being a drug lord and everyone's dead. And then I'm like, well, okay, cool. And then Emily's like, I want to live alone. I'm like, what did you say?
Right.
Dude, when I tell you I was double gripping the steering wheel, I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's fine.
Same, dude. I cried after I was
crying.
When you were the one who said it, though.
Yeah,
I
still cried. I was so sad about it.
The person who initiates needs a little bit.
A validation.
When it comes to that sort of thing, it's like it's not that it's not to equate these two things, but like with a breakup, the person who initiates a breakup is always the one who's like, "Can you believe that person fucking broke up with?" They're always the bad guy, and it's like, why? Because they were able to see a relationship was untenable and like make the move to end it. It's so strange to me that happens, because like there's been a lot of times in relationships, both friendships and relationships, where like I feel like the person forced me into a position where I had to break things off, which is not something I'm uncomfortable with, but it's like, well, they like, who's the real bad guy? The person who was like, okay, I see this is going nowhere and this isn't a successful relationship and it's better for both of us to not see each other, or the person who's keeping things together but slowly kind of pushing you off the edge, you know?
Yeah, and like you lose yourself in those kind of relationships.
Completely, yeah. So like, I don't know. I think that just because you maybe and whether or not that was a good decision, I think we'll talk about it off pod, but like I think that you still have the right to be sad about it, you know, even though you initiated. No.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I think you do have the right to be sad about it. I just didn't think it was coming from a place where you'd be sad about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I thought it was coming from a place of like, I've thought this through. This is what I want, and I'm ready for that next step. And so there was a little sense of grieving, I think, from my end.
I felt that too.
Which, understandably, whether or not it's a healthy thing for us to live separately, at the same time, I do think it would be good for us. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's hard to like not look at those things as like a bad sign of a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Or like people asking, hey, let's take a week of space.
Right.
Like in a relationship.
I was just going to ask, what, like, because obviously you two are doing stand-up, you probably travel. What's the most amount of time you guys have spent separate from each other?
She was gone in the beginning, like 3 years ago, for like 2 months.
Yeah,
and
when
then
traveling.
2 months.
Probably like a week or 2 weeks is the most we've been separate.
What does that feel like? Is it a relief because you have the space to yourself? Is it like loneliness? What goes on in those periods?
It's also different because I'm usually the one away. So I'm not alone.
Right.
I'm like distracted.
Right.
I had a long distance boyfriend.
Right.
I just normally use it as like cleaning the baseboards time.
Right. So you kind of, damn, these baseboards are going to get really fucking clean.
Dude,
pretty soon.
they get really clean, man. I couldn't afford therapy.
Right.
I think it's an enjoyable experience to have a house by yourself, no matter who you're living with. Like there's something about no one being home and you're like, oh, the house is my oyster. You know what I mean? Like I can do anything I want to do right now.
I was with you where I was like, the highest level of living is by yourself. I was like, you want your own space. And I do. I have a studio apartment. I live there by myself. And I had this friend who, like, one of the smartest friends I know and one of the most well-adjusted people I know. She was adopted, but into a great family. And they were like very, very like good to her. And she like graduated close to valedictorian, all that kind of shit. And she was talking to me and she said something like, no matter what, I always want to live in a house with like roommates. And I was like, that's insane. And she goes, well, having people around makes me feel good. And I like it. And I like being in a place where if I walk out of my room, there's people there because I love people. And I was kind of like,
that's how I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's
very
a good,
sweet.
That's a good way to think about. And I'm kind of fucked up for having my opinion, even though my opinion kind of is more the norm.
I think both are good. I think I've always wanted to live with roommates until like I find like a partner to live with.
Right.
I've always liked the idea of community, of like living in a commune with all of my friends, like maybe having separate like apartments or units or houses.
And maybe you're like in charge of it and you wear a robe and then like you have
and then we kill people.
You have people fuck you, but like they don't tell anybody about it. Yeah.
We should get the ideas, dude.
I see the vision. Yeah.
But
that's what's so funny about those situations is like we hear all the stories about communes and how they're bad, and I wonder if that's like not to be conspiratorial about it, but it's like, I wonder if that's just like anti-community marketing from an industry complex that benefits so greatly on us being atomized.
I think it is because back in the day, most kids in their 20s didn't leave home. Like a lot of cultures around the world, their family lives in the same house. They take in other parts of the family. They all share income.
Right.
So they look at Indian families who are so successful and they're all doctors. A lot of them will stay in the same house. They
Not all. Some of them are stand-up comedians.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
With very angry doctor parents. Don't forget that.
Yeah. I think there was a push on like the individualistic nature of people and breaking up the what is it called, the something family dynamic,
like multi-generational.
No, it's like the
Nuclear family.
Yeah. And breaking that up. And if you look at all the social issues that we're going through, they started with it in Black communities. Do you know what I'm saying? And they do that on a large scale.
So is that just
Look
propaganda
at
from the real
culture,
estate?
Tinder? I feel like it's all.
Yeah, it's all at least like symptomatic of a industry that like greatly benefits from, because when you're alone, the more alone you are, the more you need like capital so you can buy the things that you need. Because generally the things that we need, whether it be, and now this is where you get into a tricky place in it, where it's like, obviously I think like therapy, especially talk therapy, is great. I've done it. I've benefited from it. But the increased need for it, I think, does come from this place of people are like atomized to the point where they need to like commodify talking to somebody.
What's atomized?
Atomized means like you are taken from the whole. You are essentially
like broken down into parts.
Yeah, you're isolated. You're like isolated from like community, because community, the thing about it that's interesting is like it's not that it's like obviously if you live in a community like that you still buy things and need things, but it's less. So the more you can break people off from groups, the more you can sell stuff to them, because the group isn't there to give them the things they need. So therefore, like
sharing Netflix passwords.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Netflix is like, nah, we're gonna make you can only add 2 screens. Fuck you, Netflix.
Is that true?
Fuck Netflix.
Yeah, it's like you have to pay $30 a month or something crazy to have unlimited screens.
Remember when Netflix just sent you DVDs? Can we go back to like the good old days?
I forgot about that.
That's how they started. That's how they beat out Blockbuster.
Yeah, I deeply don't believe in streaming, to be honest with you. Like, I think the reason I don't watch TV is because of the way you have to watch it now. I think if I knew I had to be at a screen at this time to watch something, I would do it. But now people treat like it's so disrespectful. And like a lot of the people who made these classic movies are dead now. But I wonder if you told like, you know, fucking like Robert Redford, like, hey man, guess what? In 40 years, you know how people have to go to like a theater and buy popcorn and sit down, and the only thing they can look at is the screen. Well, in 40 years, someone's gonna watch your movie in between jacking off
on 2x speed.
Yeah. They're gonna watch 15 minutes of your movie and then watch porn on the same screen immediately.
Yeah.
They would be like, oh, that's hell.
Well, isn't that what we're just talking about? The atomization, like they've done to the TV and movie industry what they did to music artists
Right,
like 10
yeah,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
That's what streaming is.
You know what is cool about it? If you look at it the other way, the fall of celebrities and what it means to be a celebrity. While society's going more individualistic, I think society's also going into like being a real person, and people are given the space because they're kind of separated from their family to figure out who they are.
Not to push back, this is probably an unpopular opinion. I think having a very small amount of celebrities was a good thing for culture. And I think the idea of having like stratified tiers of celebrity, and they're all like kind of fame. And by the way, I benefit from it greatly being a stand-up comedian.
Right.
I still think it's not good. And the reason why is I think it when there were only a few like big, like Paul Newman era, right? Like 50s, 60s.
the Juice guy?
Yeah, well, he was a famous movie star before the Juice.
Oh.
Yeah. One of the biggest movie stars ever, and then made like the best juice company. That's why Paul Newman is, I think I would go pound for pound, one of the most successful people in history. He went 2 for 2, 2 completely different industries. Movies and salsa crushed them both.
Dude, his lime juice to this day is the best lime juice I've ever had.
Incredible.
That is crazy. He must be so. His family must be so set.
Oh,
He
yeah.
has a Rolex named after him. That's how set he is. It's one of the most expensive Rolexes ever. Is the Paul Newman Daytona.
How much
Rolex.
is it?
I think it sold for like $4 million at auction.
Damn.
Yeah, but like the thing about that is, I think there's a level of comfort for people understanding like celebrities are celebrities. You're not a celebrity. Live your life. But now I think there's so many people who are like, oh, but I'm one viral video away. I'm one like Hawk Tua interview
And you
away.
are.
And you are is the thing, but I don't think it's good for your like own mental health. Like also, I think it's why the movie industry is so challenged right now, because you don't have huge names to sell movies, save a few. Obviously, you have your like Chris Hemsworth. I don't even know how many tickets he sells, but like
Denzel, I feel like would sell so many.
but look how old Denzel is. Like the people who sell tickets are fucking old now. It's Tom Cruise. It's Denzel Washington. You got Timothy Chalamet now, so like that's a good new one.
Zendaya's coming up
Well,
there.
Zendaya
having a big
kinda-
following used to relate to selling, being able to
It
sell
used to,
tickets.
yes.
And I watched people, like we were small followings and we've been able to sell tickets at events that we've done with smaller followings.
Yes.
And we'd watch our girlfriends, we were like when we were in like the influencer world, 2 million followers, posts that they're doing like, bleep this because I don't even want to know them to know what industry it is. Post a performance like that they're gonna go do
Right.
for fans to show up, and the only people who show up are me and Emily, who aren't even their best friends. Like
we hate them.
like we're not close, but we're supporting because we
Sure.
get it, and we want. That's how we built a big community in Miami. Like everyone goes to each other's events, they come to yours, so you can kind of pad a room out like that, which is
Right.
nice. And then I've had other comics ask us, how do you sell tickets? Because I have a huge following and I'm not being able to sell tickets on the road.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, but I think a lot of it is the fact that if you make your bones off of doing short videos, people aren't connected to you. Like, they'll like the videos, but unless you're getting something across in them, and by the way, you know who was dealing with that for years? This guy.
Were you not selling?
Like none.
Is that why the dishwasher? Is that what made you tour more?
No, that was my first thing.
Okay.
I've been doing that for like a few years now, but initially like people just would not come to see me do stand up, and I was so confused because I had this old school idea of like, well, I have followers, so obviously they will come see me live. It's like, no, you have them because they like seeing you do this one thing. If you tell them, oh, I'm doing this completely different thing, the people, you know who has that is like podcasters and like live streamers. Those are the people who can get their followers to do kind of whatever they want.
Yeah.
Even become Nazis. That's the big thing with live streamers now.
Yeah.
what?
Is they're all like Nazis now.
Kai
There's so-
Cenat?
no, Kai I've liked.
I
but
like him.
There's a lot of guys
really
who like
good.
moved to Rumble and stuff, and they're all
yeah.
Yeah.
just like espousing ideas that like pre-World War II Germany ideas, and
Which
it's
are
like,
so interesting because those come from America in the 16
Yeah,
and
right.
1800s. Which who do you want to emulate?
No, well, that's
Neither.
the thing. That's the thing. But you have this like growing number of, I think, like scared, disenfranchised young men, and you have this other group of very successful streamers who are like, oh, they like this stuff, and they're going to keep watching if I start talking about it, and I don't really have a moral foundation. Let's run it up.
Well, it's like the OF girl to either real estate agent or Christian girl pipeline. It's
Oh, is that a thing? I'm not
Yeah.
aware of this.
Oh, that's a very real pipeline.
Real estate, thank God for real estate. Real estate has paid for men and women, has paid for more plastic surgery than I think any other job. I think that is like the center, like the money flow from real estate into plastic surgery, I think is like one of the deepest channels cut in the American
It
economy.
needs to be studied.
Yeah, it needs to be studied. I agree.
It's because they're all former. It's like the whole thing. Like you look better, you do better.
Right.
Like think of somebody attractive showing up to sell you a house. You're batting your eyes, going, "Yeah, take my card." You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I would want to buy a house from an attractive person, to be honest with
Even
you.
a hot man.
I don't want anyone. I want
Not
an
even a hot
ugly ass
man.
accountant.
Yeah.
Like they eat, breathe, sleep, accounting.
I want a salt of the earth like dude who knows how to do plumbing, electrical work, and I want him to be like, I checked this house out.
Right.
That's who I would
You're
trust.
getting a fucking deal over here.
Yeah.
You're getting a fucking steal. These
And you know what? I'll
fucking
do your
idiots.
fucking roof for you, okay?
Yeah. The weird thing that's happening on the internet with all of those people and like the radicalization does kind of come from the fundamental thing of like when you're separated from a group of people, like any group will do. That's another kind of scary thing about it, where it's like, yeah, they're
People
gonna
are craving connection.
They're craving connection. A lot of them are really, really young and they don't know any better. And they're like, wow, this guy is saying stuff that my parents say is bad. So I'm going to listen to him because he's cool. And yeah, it's brutal.
It is.
We really do need to also look into COVID affecting young people's like and causing them to isolate, and then them going into like the far right pipeline.
It's that, and it's I think their parents putting iPads in front of them too early, right?
Yeah.
Like COVID had a big part of that. Obviously, those are like two connected things, but it's like you gotta just let that kid like eat paint off the floor.
He needs to be eating dirt and ants.
You gotta
being
just
bored, kids need to be bored.
Oh, yeah.
Bored inspires like thinking and thought, and like I feel like it just accessing yourself and creativity. If you put an iPad in front of a kid, they're a robot versus like letting them figure out something.
Right. Yeah, like how to kill small animals. On
Yeah,
their own.
exactly.
Yes, exactly. Let them find out what they actually want to do.
Yeah.
What they were meant to do their whole lives.
The more you talk, the
Be
more
molested.
I'm kind of worried. We're gonna pop up on like a serial killer documentary one day. You're either the victim or the. I can't tell which one.
You could be like a Ted Bundy.
Do you think I'd be a good victim too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I could
I'd be-
see you like this.
Yeah,
And
just
like the
lay it-
cardboard outline. I mean the chalk.
I
Here
like
lies
that.
Dan.
I like the idea. Yeah, I'd like okay, he got a little DNA under his fingernails, and that was
he
how we
fought
cracked
for
it.
it.
He fought
He
for
fought.
it. Yeah, he got a little bit of DNA under the fingernails. But
They're like, he looks like a nice man. Let's dig into this case.
you know that whole serial killer things being handsome is so funny because I've looked at pictures of serial killers. There's not like over a 7 among them.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know how that started.
Well, okay, so there's this thing that like every generation gets hotter and hotter because we're all like intermingling
Fascinating.
with hotter people. So was Ted Bundy hot in that generation because everyone was ugly?
Wow, that's an interesting way of
Yeah, like
looking
look at
it.
people in Ireland, like women in Ireland.
What
Look
about
right
him?
here, baby.
No, we're Irish women, but we're not
From
There's
Ireland.
like a specific look. Do you know what I'm saying?
A
There's-
1700s peasant.
Okay. Oh, are you saying that's what women in Ireland look like now?
I don't know, man. I haven't been to Ireland. I'm just assuming
Based on what?
based on what my grandma looked like.
Got it. Yeah, I'm sorry your grandma didn't have fucking perfect tits, all right? She was busy building this goddamn country.
Dude, she was a sturdy woman.
Children inherit traits from their grandparents. So Emily did get her giant, voluptuous tits from her grandma.
Shout out those potatoes.
What was her name? Your great. Was it grandma or great grandma?
I think she was Doris.
Doris is great.
Doris Kelly.
Great name.
Very Irish.
But yeah, that's always been one that struck me, and I wonder if it's just kind of like a psychosexual thing where it's like, oh, this person is displaying this like power, and therefore they are attractive. But also, I just think this is a thing people were saying because I gotta say this: Jeffrey Dahmer, not good looking. None of the there's really not been a good.
Yeah,
like,
but here's the thing. You ever been hee-heed out of your panties? Because
Yeah.
we have. And sometimes you'll fucking ugly because they make you laugh.
Yeah.
So maybe they had great personalities. Maybe they were suave. Maybe they like... Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel as though the PR guy for serial killers is just doing a great job
Oh,
or
he's doing a
something.
great
Yeah,
job.
he's like, I feel like there's just one
He's a
guy.
serial killer.
Yeah, who works at CAA, who's like in charge of serial killers. Who's like, why do we have our best guy on this? Because he's crushing it right now. Every show that comes out is about these guys. They're all like, we're all like, oh my god, they were so hot. I just don't. We have Zac Efron playing one.
The
What
guy
are
who
we
killed
doing?
the CEO of the healthcare company or
Yep.
whatever, United
Was
Healthcare.
was that
He's
actually
hot.
his picture? Was it the picture they showed of his?
I don't know if it actually was him, but
If
All
he
I know
was,
is
he
hot.
was very, very good looking.
Yeah.
All of the women on TikTok are like, we don't even care. Fuck the healthcare system.
Right.
He's hot. I'd fuck him. Let's make
Dude,
t-shirts.
I let him reload that gun into my pussy. Like, I love a man of action, okay?
Yeah, there is something. If you're a man and you if you kill a guy and there's any case for justification of it, I feel like you got set for life.
Well, I love that they can't name a motive, and it's like, or someone who might want to kill him because he's the head of a fucking insurance company.
Are they still saying that about it?
Yeah, they're like, there's no motives to be found. It's like, well, there's every motive, dude.
We just have no idea why this guy would
I
do
wye
this.
why you would shoot him. I don't know.
Maybe they just can't come out with it right away, but that's just so funny. He's like, we found his like colostomy bag and a bunch of medication that was paid for out of pocket, but yeah, I guess he was just really, you know what? I guess it's like the liberal politics of New York that did this.
He must have fucked somebody's wife. Like, fuck. It wasn't his policies. He was just the home.
That would be awesome. Oh my God. Imagine if that guy killed that CEO because the CEO fucked his wife. And now,
And it
now
had nothing to
he
do with
looks at
healthcare.
TikTok and he's like, oh my God, I'm a hero. Wait, everyone loves me? I was purely doing this for Janice.
This was for the love of the game.
That's good stuff. But no, that is
I
a
had
fun one.
we talked about Hawk to a girl.
Yes, of course.
Did you see that she started a meme coin and then it dropped by like $400 million and now
No.
people want her to be arrested?
That can't be. First of all, that can't be true. The coin's probably doing fine, and people are just saying that because they don't want a woman to be successful. And
one of the top crypto like YouTubers or something came after her essentially on, I don't know if it was either Twitter or Clubhouse, but one of those like talk things.
He sounds anti-feminist to me right away. So you can keep going, but I just want to. This sounds like a man who's just trying to tear her down. I'll say it.
Is this how you get pussy?
One of the most industrious women of this century. Okay, so please go on.
No, we love Hawk to a girl.
Yes.
We're pro Hawk to a girl. We don't want her to go to jail. But what they're saying is they got a bunch of investors. It's not her fault. It's crypto guys came in. They were like, let's make a coin. They got a bunch of investors. It was up a lot. And then the day they launched it, a bunch of people pulled and some guy like he invested like $34,000 into Hawk to a coin, which if you're doing that,
What is wrong with you?
something's wrong. And he's bitching on Twitter. I lost my whole life saving. It's now only worth $2,000. I believed in you, Hawktua. I believed in your methods.
I don't have a life savings, but to consider putting that into Talk to I can't imagine. I can't fathom that.
They said this about Margaret Thatcher. Okay, they said this.
Oh,
they
God.
tried besmirching.
They said this about Ruth
He's
Bader
prepping
Ginsburg.
on hitting on women
Ginsburg.
after the show. He's like, did I tell you I'm a feminist?
They said this about every woman who has something to say.
They say it
okay?
about us.
They
They
say
do.
it about you two.
How do you have a
do.
podcast? You must
They
be
say it
fucking
about
someone.
two girls, one blunt. Okay, and I think it's disgusting what these. And if I can talk to you directly, Haley, I think that's her name. If I
you
can
know
talk
what-
to you directly, Haley, next time you drop a meme coin, I will be there, front and center. Get me in at the ground floor. Okay.
How much you putting in?
My life savings.
Yeah, my whole life savings.
$2.
I will invest my entire life savings into whatever you want from me.
And
I'll
this
do
is a
it.
legally binding contract,
This
by
is
the
a
way.
legally binding. Put it in the contract. I support her 100%. Have you listened to her podcast?
No.
Oh my god,
I have.
She's on
She's
there.
the best.
It's incredible. She's talking about single payer. She's talking about healthcare for all. She's talking. Oh yeah. She's on there. She's talking about breaking down the white supremacist nature of the United States.
Are you lying to me right now?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I was like, wait,
No.
she does help puppies.
you had
She's
me.
helping puppies.
She's helping puppies. This was like on brand. So I was like, yeah, wow.
Do you think it's just other people with head injuries who
You
listen
go on
to
her
that?
podcast and she turns into like a Nazi. We actually listen.
All right, Dan. Coming in to talk with you. We got Sebastian Gorka. Get in here, Sebastian.
Who's that?
He's like a Nazi. Yeah.
You should
sure
have
you
gone
don't
with
know
one of the
him?
famous
I'm sure
ones.
he would be mad at me saying that about him, but debate me, Gorka.
Isn't
All
he-
right.
Is he a comic?
No.
I was
He's
are
like
you-
he's like a political pundit who is like vaguely vaguely close to Trump who like, and listen, debate me on the Talk to a podcast, Gorka. Okay, I'm ready for you, Sebastian. You and your big head. All right. Anyway,
We love starting fights here.
the meme coin thing is so funny because you'll have these people who like know what they're doing is wrong. You'll even have people who will say like early on in like the meme coin thing, like, I would never do this. This is wrong. Like, you're hurting your fans by doing this. And then 2 years later, they're like, oh my God, I made like the best meme coin. And I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but this one's actually good. And
dude, I just don't get it. I don't get any of it.
Well, here's the thing.
What shorts? What's happening?
You want to know why? Why you and I don't? All three of us don't get it, and the reason we don't get it is the reason why we're doing a podcast in a living room.
Who says I don't get it?
No,
We all don't
gets
get it. Because you want to know why? Because we're doing a podcast in a living room right now, and we're not at the top of the big building. All right.
All right.
That's why.
Calm down, buddy.
First of all, you didn't see our Miami apartment. We were on the 33rd floor.
But I am almost serious. I think the mindset that someone would be so cutthroat and cruel to people who have done nothing but support them to completely knowingly bamboozle them out of all like their hard-earned money. I think that's the mindset that gets somebody to that position.
Wait, they bamboozle? That's all a meme coin is a boozle?
Yeah, it's literally just fake. It's 100% fake. It's like a non-equity like proposal for your fans to just buy a fake thing and the money goes to you, essentially. Like, they'll do this bullshit where they'll be like, oh, well, I have a locked wallet and I'm not even able to pull out. But then they do this tricky shit because none of it's regulated by regulatory agencies.
Yeah.
So they very easily do like side deals and shit, and they worm out of it, which is why she'll probably never get arrested because it's an unregulated market.
So guys, I think we're gonna start a meme coin. 2 girls, 1 blunt.
Blunt coin.
Buy in now.
Pussy blunts.
No, but I often do think, like, I wonder if the mindset that would stop me from doing that is the same mindset that is keeping me from like a high level of success. Obviously, there's people who I think are good people who make it in the industry, but I think it helps to be like that.
I struggle with that because I have a very like justice complex and like my ethical stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I know what it would take to get to where I could go.
Yes.
But then it's like, I don't want to go that way.
Me as well.
So it's been happening a lot slower and the money's slower, but I feel better about it. But I do think there is a point in which at some point we don't feel worthy of achieving that level of success or feel like we're not capable or don't trust ourselves to achieve it with like good ethics.
Right.
Does that make sense? And so we hold ourselves back because we're like, well, the only way we can do it is if we're bad. So we associate being bad with that amount of money. So we stop ourselves and cap ourselves like in our ability to achieve that.
I think that's interesting. I don't think you're wrong, but
I don't think you're right.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think that
I think you're a feminist.
I think you're both feminist heroes. I think that the 2 Girls, 1 Blunt podcast would be loved by Bell Hooks, and I think she would be a listener every single time you guys picked up the microphone.
What about
What's worse, that you know that name and that I don't?
I don't know that name.
God, I hope it's right. Could you do a quick Google of
let's ask our producer.
Let's ask our producer.
Who am I looking at?
Bell Hooks.
I think that's right.
Like spelt phonetically?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it's an American author.
Yes.
Oh, she's dead.
She's dead now. But if she were alive, she would listen to the 2 Girls, 1 Blunt podcast, I think.
You know, I think she would. She looks like my Nana. So I think she would read it. Watch it.
I feel like last episode, Emily goes, yeah, men are just better. So I don't know.
I think I did say that we don't deserve rights.
I said, put me back in the kitchen, take me away. I want to be a housewife.
You know, upon hearing this, I think you two do have what it takes to make it. I think you guys do have all you need to make it. But no, I agree with you. I think it can stunt people, certainly, when it comes to like I've met a ton of people who complain about nepotism in this way that's like insane to a degree where it's like, where does this come from? And it's really coming from the fact that like
you didn't have it.
Well, they didn't have it, and also like they know that this is hard whether or not you have rich parents, but you want to make a reason why it's particularly hard for you, and therefore why you haven't made anything of real value.
Yes.
And it's like, is nepotism a problem? I actually think absolutely. I think it's getting worse, but at a certain level, if you're in that industry, you can't keep being like, well, the reason I'm not is because I don't have rich. And it's like, then do something else.
Yeah, figure out a different way to get there.
Right. Like, not to be callous about it, but it's like at a certain level. And I'm only talking about a select few people where there is definitely criticisms you can make about nepotism that are valid. But at a certain level, it's like, yeah, but you still have to.
You have to show up. I think people use that stuff as excuse all the time. Mm-hmm. And again, it stops them from showing up as they should to get to where they want to go.
They're like, oh, well, I'm never going to get it because I'm not even going to try.
I hear it with comics, and it's so annoying. I didn't get this show because a woman's on the show. Maybe if you weren't bitching about that and you focus on being fucking funny.
They didn't get the show because a woman's on the show?
Yeah, they're like, a woman, Emily got booked on a show, and a guy literally, she goes, nice to see you. He goes, yeah, well, you're the one getting booked on this show, and I'm not. And Emily goes, I just said it was nice to see you.
I love a guy being like, I'm not getting booked on this show because, like, he's like, yeah, I would be on that show, but I'm not allowed 300 feet away from those kinds of people.
If it wasn't for that dumb white bitch, I've been on this show.
It would be me doing that 5 minutes at a bar.
Hey, it was 10 minutes.
It was at Vulcan.
At Vulcan, eat my ass.
Right, at a converted bar. I'm so sorry.
It's a gas company, okay?
We hear it all, and we could focus on that and be like, it's because we're women and we get all this hate and whatever if we don't get booked places or something. But instead, it's like we're just staying in our own lane. And I think too many people like are trying to get crap, like they're in traffic.
Right.
Versus like creating their own lane. And if you're in your own lane, you don't have to worry about what anyone in traffic is doing.
I agree with you, but I think it can be both. I think it's like it's also kind of fun when you do try to be like more, because I think there's also no denying the fact that if you are a sort of like cold-blooded, career-only oriented type person who's willing to use relationships as like completely just stepping stones, you do kind of get a quicker way up. Yeah. So it's like,
yeah, we have friends like that.
Yeah, 1,000%. But like, so I don't think addressing that is necessarily holding you back. I think it's if you ruminate on it for long enough for you to be like, well, I'm never going to make it because I'm not like that. Like, that's when you start getting into problems.
I think there's a difference between networking, making real genuine connections where you are real to the people
and your friends,
and then using people. And there's two very important like differences between those two things.
Right. As long as you're not calling it networking when it's happening, I think that's great.
No, I'm not like, hey, what's up? Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Emily. I'm networking.
You know what? I take back what I said. That would actually.
Well, is this not networking right now?
No.
You don't think we're like getting to know each other?
We're getting to know each other, but calling it networking
I also cold DM'd you.
Yeah.
That's sales.
It's network. It's sales.
Well, that's because I know being on this podcast is going to elevate me to a new stratosphere of success.
Dude, yeah, we're next level. You're welcome.
But no, I mean, the idea of calling a human interaction networking is just something.
I agree with you.
It's something I will never accept, and this is me being stubborn. I will never accept. But on the other side, if someone came up to me and they were like,
connecting,
hello, I am networking with you. My name is John. There is something where I'd be like, well, I know what you're doing, so that's good. There's so many people who are doing that, but instead they're like trying to
be your friend, and they really just use you.
Yeah, and I would almost rather you be like, I would like to network with you.
Hey,
there's almost something endearing about that.
That's just autism.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this thing where I think people are confusing being a human being with autism. It's really happening a lot
but I
lately.
do think we're both on the spectrum.
No,
why can't it be both?
Do you want to see what I looked like as a kid?
I don't think that's how you tell.
Yes.
I don't think that's how a doctor's like, okay, well, you might be autistic. Let me see a picture of you as a child.
How would you tell?
Do you want to hear me talk about sharks? Because that'll prove
This is a math.
That's liking stuff, though. This is the thing. You like stuff and you make social faux pas. Like that. That's just being a person, and it's sort of watering down this thing that like is
the real
serious.
Autism people of the world.
Well, to that level, it's like we understand it when it comes to like physical diagnosis, where it's like if you woke up in the morning and you had a sore back, you wouldn't be like, oh, I have multiple sclerosis right now, because we understand that there's like a physical connection to that thing.
What about like a 3- and 4-year-old teaching themselves how to read and write?
That's cool.
That you don't think that kid's a little special?
Maybe. Listen, I'll leave that to doctors. I think this is getting into a thing that I think about a lot, where it's like we're so inundated with like therapy language. Not that the word autism is therapy language. We think we have to like break down and deconstruct everybody, including our own mental state all the time. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think you have to do it. And people are acting like it's totally normal to like, and it's like, you're not. When someone breaks up with somebody, I'm sure you've experienced this. They immediately go. I'm not saying you. I'm saying somebody talking to you, but that is funny. But they immediately go like, "Oh, they were such a narcissist. They were like a narcissist, and they were a sociopath." And it's like, you feel bad. You got broken up with. Those things that you said about them might be true. It's not helpful for you to try to. You're not a doctor.
It sounds like you're gaslighting me.
Well, I don't think it's gaslighting to be like, we're not doctors or therapists, and we don't.
You don't
have
know that.
To like.
I have my. I
Want
might
to look
have
at my diploma, kid?
I don't know if you guys would need constant
what I thought,
roommates
bitch.
if that were the case.
Oh, you think doctors and psychiatrists
we're
can only be men?
roommates.
Is that a stereotype?
Wow.
I actually got
I think
someone
that's
who
what he
would
said.
opposite that. I told
Hey,
them,
I can be a doctor and broke. That was a good one.
It's called intersectionality.
I'm on leave.
But no,
That was a good one.
But people are like, they're constantly just like in this cycle of diagnosis and stuff, and it's like, you can't pin people down like that, especially if you're not a like professional.
You know, my therapist actually did have to sit me down and be like, "Hey, Emily, you don't need to diagnose your mother to realize that what she did was wrong. And you don't need to break her apart. You just need to accept what happened and move on."
It's this very stale clinical form of life where we think we have to justify every negative emotion we have by diagnosing someone with something else. Completely untrue. You can just be like, I don't like that. I don't like that person. I don't like the way they whatever the fuck it is. You get to do that because you're not a doctor and they're not a paying patient, and it doesn't matter. So you can just be like, I don't like that person.
You can, but also a lot of human nature is curiosity, being nosy, trying to figure out puzzles.
1000%.
So one part of that puzzle and trying to figure out why someone hurt you is, well, what part of them went wrong? And that, I think that's a very human nature thing to want to do. I see both sides of it, and I agree with both sides because I've been through both sides.
I think that you're never gonna get an answer that is provably accurate to that, because people are way more multifaceted than a lot of people give us credit for. So if someone hurt you, to be like, oh, well, they did it because of this, the answer is always going to be wrong, because there are so many different components to a psyche. You can never pin it down to one thing. So I do think that you're right in that we like putting together a puzzle and coming up with an answer to something is important. But at the same time, just know that your answer is personal, and it's an answer that's for you and not for them.
Yes.
And people can get really caught up in like, oh, well, they did this because and it's like, you just didn't like them. They did something bad to you. That happens with people. We can just move on. And it's not that diagnoses aren't helpful for some people, but at the same time, I think that it's a tool to be used and not this like overarching thing where everything about you needs to be constantly quantified and put into these categories. And it's like, I don't think it's a healthy way.
No, I agree.
To experience
I think
life.
To some people, it can continue the rumination instead of like the moving on. For me, I think it was helpful to get that diagnosis and see why she did what she did.
Sure.
And then I was able to, over the course of 10 plus years, be like, oh, she just wasn't happy. She took it out on me, and that's not okay. And I would never do that.
When you say get that diagnosis, are you talking about like coming up with it yourself, or do you talk about this with a...
No, a psychiatrist diagnosed her.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's stuff where I'm like, absolutely, that's great. Like when a professional does it.
No, I hear so many girls who are like, he's a narcissist, and and it's literally just like, you're just mad. There's a lot of people who do that in so many. And
I think not to go on a ledge or whatever, but it's like, I think a lot of women don't feel entitled to negative emotion a lot of the time, and so they need to put a diagnosis in between themselves and their own anger. And like, I think that that's unhealthy. Where I think a lot of guys are way more comfortable because we're brought up being like, fuck that guy, he's a fucking asshole. But when it comes to that sort of stuff, you know what I think about? I think of, do you know the word bro science? Mm-hmm. We attribute that to guys who are in the gym and they lift weights, but they're not scientists, but they think they are because they lift weights so much. So they're like, oh, bro, you gotta go 4 grams of protein for every 2 pounds of body fat, unless it's September, and then it's 8 pounds. And
you thinking about Dom Mazzetti right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like,
Dom Mazzetti, if you're watching, I love you.
Like, I think there's a lot of bro science that goes into psychology now, is all I'm saying. There's a lot of like psychological bro science out there.
So you think that when men gained access to therapy terms became weaponized, and now we should no longer use therapy terms?
I didn't say any of that.
I think he's
like
weaponizing therapy
I think that's
terms
interesting.
in this moment.
I'm not even talking about weaponizing. I'm completely just talking about like your own personal experience with like therapy and like those sorts of things. It's like, just like going to the gym is helpful for people and learning stuff about the gym is helpful. That's great. It just doesn't make you an expert on it. This is just something I've been thinking about a lot, but it's like, we understand that like a dude who's wearing a like cut off tee and a headband maybe shouldn't be trusted just because he can bench 400. But it's also like, yeah, but same with people who are talking about psychiatry and psychology, like they're doctors who aren't.
Don't say you're a personal trainer if you're not. Don't say you're a therapist if you're not.
Thank you.
But I think, yeah, I mean, I agree.
I'm both.
You're a personal trainer, therapist. And now we wait for him to chew. He's out of water, boys. It's going to be a rough one.
Should we do a quick
ready.
Sony baloney?
Yeah, we have 13 minutes left.
Great.
That's all the time we got. You have a podcast called Dancers.
Yes, it's now defunct. I don't do episodes anymore.
Well, you have a now defunct podcast called Dancers.
I might bring it back. So,
well, we
yeah.
have some questions
Great.
for you. Okay, you were a former bouncer. What's your craziest bouncer story?
I really don't. So I was a bouncer in a student-run nightclub in Sweden. The only reason I would call myself a quote-unquote bouncer there is because I was working with the security guys, but I was the smallest guy there by far. You know, this is not a good answer, but everyone in Sweden is so nice, and I never had any problems, really.
Okay, so you went to the nicest place on earth to be a bouncer. You couldn't cut in Miami?
No, oh, God, no. Oh,
My brother was a bouncer. My brother worked VIP security,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
did.
tiny. Sorry,
Yeah.
David.
Sorry, he is tiny. Okay, well, that was a great life lesson.
yeah.
What do you miss most about Massachusetts being in LA now?
I would say probably my family and how negative they are.
Same.
Yeah.
Don't you? Okay, question. Do you want a family?
Like,
Like, do you want to get married and have kids?
It's circumstantial.
Okay, so say you do.
Yeah.
Are you going to raise them like that with that? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to raise my kids swearing and be like, cut the fucking shit. And that's how I think I'm going to raise my kids, because I love that aspect of how I grew up.
That's a great question. My direct parents were never really like that, but my grandma is one of the most like endearingly negative people I've ever met in my entire life. And like, she's always telling us to kill her as soon as her mind starts to go. Like,
My
that's her
dad
big
tells
thing.
me that too.
Yeah, but here's the thing: when your mind starts to go, you're like applesauce. You know, like, you're not like.
That's why you have to tell them before your mind goes.
That's why you have to tell them before the mind goes. But then your mind goes, and then your family's like, "What? If we're not going to kill grandma, you know?" Like,
I'd be I would come back and haunt you if you guys didn't kill me.
My dad
smart.
I told my mom when I was younger, I go, if I ever become a vegetable, just donate my body to science. I want to be donated to science. Don't keep me alive.
Still alive?
I don't. As a kid, I was like, I don't. Yeah.
Wow, we got a live one here. This is interesting.
Yeah. No, if I'm in a coma,
Right.
kill me. Don't keep me in this coma. Don't bankrupt our family. The longer you drag it out, everyone gets affected. Kill me.
Well, you have DNR, right?
Yeah.
What's DNR?
Do not resuscitate.
Yeah. Where do you put it though?
You have to sign
I think
it.
you have to like register it or something like that.
You have to have like a will, and then it'll have like your medical
fascinating.
directive.
Yeah.
And your medical directive
Medical
can say
directive.
DNR, and like how, like for me, I want mine to say like 30 days in a coma, just pull the plug.
Right.
I signed my DNR for my gallbladder surgery, and I had you as my healthcare proxy. So.
She didn't even tell me.
This is a straight podcast. This is a straight podcast. Everything about this is straight.
We just don't have family.
They just don't have families.
We have each other now.
Right. And that statement right there, straight. Okay? That's a straight statement to make.
Oh, God. All right, so you miss your negative family.
Miss my negative family.
Well, that, we're 0 for 2 with these questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do better next time.
No, you're doing great. This is also my inability to answer.
Favorite trait of Bostonians. Hold on, let me do it in case it's a clip. What's your favorite trait of Bostonians?
Wait, hold up. I feel like that was gay.
You ask.
What's your favorite thing about people from Boston? Besides us.
The thing I miss about Boston is like it's the biggest disparity between intelligence and stupidity, and you never know what you're going to get when someone's walking towards you. Like when someone's walking towards you, like they have a scally cap on and they they could be a Harvard professor or a roofer, you don't know. And I like that about a place.
Okay.
I like that about a place. There's like randomly hyper educated people in Boston.
You'll get hyper educated people at dive bars.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
I've run into people at dive bars who make millions of dollars.
Someone did say I saw this girl on TikTok, and I don't know her name to give her credit for this, but her friends in LA were complaining about dating, and she was like, look, where are you going? If you want to find a rich man, you go to a dive bar. And the friends argued, and she goes, no, with a bunch of dudes, they're not like, let's go make a reservation at Catch tonight at 8. They're going to go with their buddies to watch a game at a sports bar or a dive bar. You can't assume dive bars mean port. No, and who wants to spend $20 on a drink? They're drinking a pitcher of beer with their their boys.
Right, that's interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I only go to dive bars.
Yeah, I think she should just show up to people's houses. I think if she's looking for a rich man, go to their homes.
I Zillow really rich
Directly.
I pretend I'm one of those YouTubers. I'm like, sir, what do you do for a living?
I just show up with a
that's
suitcase and move in.
Yeah. It's
Hi,
good.
I'm your wife now.
Good.
Surprise.
Smart.
Oh yeah, you didn't order a housekeeper? I think your team did. He's like, who's this lady living in my house? They're like, she doesn't work here.
But she's keeping everything about this house together.
Mm-hmm.
The cops are asking about me in connection with some crimes. How much do you give up about what you know about me?
Oh, you? I'm saying this about you?
Wait, how much are they offering?
Wait, they're not offering anything.
Oh. I was like, well,
she's like, I got all the info.
I go, there's a price.
I mean, I'm saying everything. I'm saying you and your lover are probably hours away by now, and I'd give your exact locations.
All right, well,
Yeah.
that's that.
And that's not because of a reward. That's because I love the police and I love their work. And if anyone's listening to me and there's sponsors out there, I will promote your military grade coffees. I will promote your taser company. Okay, I'm a red-blooded American. I'm trying to make money here. It's nothing against you.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, give me up to the cops.
Yes.
But I will come back for you.
To our beautiful first-tier responders.
If you need any tips. All right, hologram pervert suites like on Star Trek are now real. Who or what is your first holo hookup?
I would go in there and I would just say some random celebrity, but then as soon as I stepped in, I would be like, change it to my ex-girlfriend so I can get the apology I never got.
Oh,
That's what I would do in there.
And that's when you come.
I would make them. Yeah, I would
You're
start
just jerking off and you're like,
off
say
to
you're
it.
sorry. Tell me I'm not a narcissist.
But yeah, that's what I would do.
I like that.
What's the most awkward term you've had to define to a grown-up in your life?
It's the most awkward term.
OnlyFans.
Bukkake.
I've never had to describe it either. I don't use those words. Here's the thing.
That makes one of
us.
us.
I don't use naughty words like that. All right. I don't believe in that kind of garbage.
All right.
Sorry.
I don't believe in that.
You're not a dirty
crap.
birdie like us.
I'm not salacious.
What's the weirdest shit you've seen a naked person do in a locker room or changing room?
This game ascribes a much more interesting life than I've lived. I've never seen anyone do anything weird in a locker. Have you ever seen someone do something weird in a
My
locker
mom
room?
ass naked,
No,
blow
you know
drying her
what?
butthole.
That's fine.
No, I feel like the days of the weird locker rooms for me were like YMCA. Like I'm a kid. Like
I go to a spa, a Korean spa that like has a men's and women's section. You're naked in the men's section. And I had a guy come up to me as I was grabbing a towel, and he was this big, very handsome guy, and he goes, "Are you Europe?" Like asking if I'm European, but he didn't know how to.
He's asking if you're gay.
He was like, "Are you Europe?" And I go, "Oh, no." And he goes, "You look so Italy."
Wait, you kind of do.
That's very nice. I don't know why.
all right,
I see it.
which one of your parents would you rather do with?
That's actually my dad, because he's dead, so it would be nice for him to come back, but then I have to do heroin with him. That would be really
Did your dad
interesting.
die from heroin too?
No,
Oh.
different. But it would be
Damn.
fun. That's like a fun Faustian bargain kind of thing where it's like,
I was like, it's so
okay,
Boston.
you can talk to your dead parent, but you both have to be on smack while you do it. That's an interesting question. Dad, how are you, man?
I missed you so much.
I would do drugs with my dad.
Yeah,
I'd like to do mushrooms with my dad.
that's interesting.
to like find out about his psyche because
Right.
I'm a therapist. If you
Right,
didn't know.
because you're a therapist, and it's your job.
Yeah.
It's your job.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 minutes.
Great.
You're granted total legal immunity for 12 hours. What's the first crime you commit?
Oh, I mean, I'm going to New York and finishing what that guy started, the United Health guy.
You're ending
I'm
the
like,
whole meeting.
They're gonna have the janitor being CEO at United Health when I'm done with that board. That's what I'm doing.
Oh.
They're gonna have to move that guy all the way up the ranks.
You know what? Don't even stop with United.
Yeah.
Get Blue Cross Blue Shield
I have
because their
Aetna.
premiums are.
Dude.
Yeah. That's I'm asking all my friends what their insurances are.
You're like, I'm going to help you out. Don't worry. All right, we have 1 minute and 36 seconds left. Do you have any last words for the audience?
No, this is a wonderful experience. Thank you for letting me into your home. Your cats are lovely, and your pillows are tasteful.